Hello everyone, my name is Rachel Lovegrove and this is a recorded session of guided yoga practice. And it's not for beginners, it's for those that already have a practice of Iyengar Yoga or equivalent. So we're going to be using quite a lot of props today because this is the final Sunday of the month that we're broadcasting this. And usually I do a recuperative session the last week of the month, and this week is no exception. So we'll be doing some supine work, seated poses, some inversions, but from the emphasis of recuperation, restoration, soothing the nerves, calming the nervous system, and restoring our energy. So we're going to start with the invocation to Patanjali. So if you sit in your swastikasana pose, make sure that you've got the right amount of height so that your knees are not higher than your hips. And then from there, bring the palms together in front of the chest and close the eyes. So I start the invocation with 3 Om sounds. Yogena chitasya padena vacham malam sharirasya javaidhyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakra siddharinam Sahasra shirasam svetam pranamami patanjalim Hari Om. And bow the head down towards the heart. Release the hands and raise the head, open the eyes. So just change the cross of the legs and come into swastikasana on the other side. And you might need to adjust because of difficulty with the knees or the hips, but see that you get as much symmetry as you can between the two sides, adjusting the buttock flesh, turning the thighs from inside out, and again placing the hands down beside you to sit tall. And just be here for a few moments, pressing the thighs down, feeling that grip of the outer hips. And we're going to take the arms forwards into Padmasana, interlocking the fingers, turning the palms, and lifting the arms up. So let's stay here for, I've got the timer over there, we'll stay here for 30 seconds on each side. Just breathing normally. Lift up a little bit higher if you can in the last few seconds, and then come down. Change the interlock of the fingers. Again, turn the palms away, raise the arms up, stretch up. Keep the triceps gripping towards the bone, biceps lengthening, upper arm bones trying to get closer towards the ears. moving the arms a little further back, but keep the eyes soft, keep the mouth soft. And then slowly release down and extend out through the legs. Now we're going to come to Siddhasana pose, which is another bent leg pose. If you have problems sitting in this pose, you can sit higher up. That usually helps to keep the knees down. First leg comes in, heel in line with the perineum. Second leg comes in, and you can either place the heels in front of each other or put your toes through between the calf and the thigh, heels on top, and be in Siddhasana. You might need to take some support for the hands and just be there. So the knees should be going down towards the floor, so you shouldn't be tipping back like this. So if that's the case, you need to sit higher. It's as simple as that. And you can have a very high lift for this. You can have 4 blocks, 3 blocks. And then if you can place the hands on the thighs and just press the backs of the hands into the inner knees. Lift yourself up, pin your shoulders back, draw the navel back. Feel that quietness up through the center line of the body. Extension from inner groin to inner knee, outer hips gripping. Armpit, chest lifting up. And then release the pose. Take that top leg forwards first. Carefully extend the legs and change sides. So the other leg comes under. Making sure that the sole of the foot is revolving towards the ceiling. When you bring it in, so the top of the foot is down. Then the other leg, either the heels in front of one another or the toes tucking between the calf and the thigh. Knees level. Have the hands behind you for balance to start with. Take extra height if you need it. So the knees can go down, not fly up in the air. They might be lifted, but what you don't want to see is that people are leaning back like this. And then again, brace the backs of the hands onto the inner knees. Lift the sides of the chest. Keep the gaze of the eyes steady. Feel that broadness across the collarbones and that broadness from the inner groin to the inner knee, that length there. And then release and extend those legs out. Now I need an extra bit of height for this next one, which is Badakanasana. So I'm definitely going to take a bit more height. And you might even like to have a belt to hold on to. So Badakanasana with the soles of the feet together. So I take the knees out to the sides, bring the soles of the feet towards each other. Then the heels come towards the body. And you can hold on to the feet or the shins. If you've got a belt and if you're finding it difficult to reach the feet, you can put the belt around the feet and hold there instead. And that way, if you've got short arms, for example, you can lift up much better than having to reach down and hold the feet. And as you hold on to the feet, press the feet down, press the heels together. Try and get that same width from the inner groin to the inner knee. And that feeling of the hips gripping, outer hips gripping, chest lifting, collarbones wide. Again, looking softly forwards. Make sure that you're not pushing your head towards the screen. Keep the back of the neck soft. Oh, I've got a Tressler behind me. I can lean slightly back into that. So you can do this against the wall. Just happens to be just in the right place for the back of my head to be in line with my tailbone. But don't lean back. So if you're leaning back, then your buttocks should also be against the wall. Obviously, I haven't got a Tressler all the way down to the ground for that. Okay, and then release that pose and extend out your legs. Now the final seated one we're going to do is Padmasana, but you can do as an alternative either one or two things, half Padmasana or Swastikasana, because Swastikasana pose that we started off with is a very good training ground for Padmasana because of the action in the hips. So if you're really struggling with Padmasana, just repeat Swastikasana. We won't stay very long, and please don't take risks in this pose with your knees. So many people hurt their knees in this pose because they're so eager to do it, but it takes time. Really does take time, and some of us, have more difficulty than others. I'm going to take my right leg into Padmasana first. I'm not going to have as much height because that doesn't tend to help me, but it might help some of you. And I always hold underneath the ankle like this, with the knee going outwards, so not bringing the knee across, because the foot has to come towards you and the thigh has to extend towards the knee to bring that leg down. So do that first if you're doing Padmasana, and then you can either bring the foot underneath the thigh for half Padmasana, or if it's accessible to you, you could bring the foot in front of the knee for 1.5 Padmasana. Let's make that up. Or you can bring that foot on top, and I have to be careful with this knee. It doesn't want to do it today, so I'm just going to be happy with my Padmasana. If I had more time, if I wasn't teaching you, then I would do it, but I'm not going to take up the time of this recording to do that. I'm quite happy to just do the half. If I rush it, it will not be a happy knee. It'll grumble at me the rest of the day. But while I'm here, I'm pressing my thighs down. I'm tilting the top of the sacrum forwards, feeling that lift of the front hip bones up. Shoulders back, chest lifting. And then release that side. Stretch out the legs and then change. So either you're doing Swastikasana with the other leg, or you can bend the legs and bring your hand underneath the left foot. So this is the one I have to be careful of, but it's okay if I just focus on this one. I can take my time. I'm keeping that knee stretching out towards the side, not bringing it closer in. And the toes of this foot pointing towards the right, the heel coming all the way to the top of the leg. So now he's a bit happier now. And because I can manage with this leg, I can then bring the leg into full Padmasana on that side. It's not a problem. And actually, when I do this side, this knee's perfectly happy. Just needs a bit more time doing it the other way. And again, those knees are nice and wide. Eventually they come a bit closer, but in the beginning, and if you have got a knee problem like I have on that side, just keep the knees wide, get that extension from inner groin to inner knee like we did in Siddhasana, outer hips gripped. Make sure the soles of the feet are turning towards the ceiling, and that you're endeavouring to get your feet closer towards your hips. These feet are a little bit too far away, so they need to come closer towards the top of the thigh, towards the abdomen. Okay, and then release that pose. Carefully stretch out the legs into Dandasana. All right, so we're going to take the supine poses next, and we'll start with Supta Badakanasana. Just have quite a shallow lift, not too high. So maybe what you could have for these supine ones, we're going to do Supta Badakanasana, then we'll do Supta Virasana, so then the height can be a bit higher. But for this first one, you don't really need a lot of height. So you could use 2 foam blocks, for example, or a very narrow, or a flat bolster. But you might want to have something underneath your thighs, like 2 roll blankets or a couple of blocks. I'm quite happy without these days, but I'm just going to take my belt, get that ready to put over my thighs. Okay. So I want to come close to the blocks and take the belt around the sacrum, remember, inside the legs, so inside the thighs, the knees are apart, it's going inside the legs, and then bring it around the feet, like so, and then you just pull it. as hopefully all of you know this by now. And then before I go back, I put my hands on the floor, I lift my buttocks towards the heels and roll the spine down. The blanket should touch the head and neck. And then I'm going to release the arms out to the sides. So join me here. I'm just checking the time. So start off with your arms in this position. Don't be in a rush to throw the arms over. But after a while, what you can do is stretch the arms. I'll direct you with this. You can stretch the arms over and then fold the elbows. But I would always spend about a minute here first with the arms like that, just settling in. So take about a minute to follow the breath and search around the body. So for any area that you think needs adjusting, like the shoulders or the buttocks, perhaps you don't feel that you're quite in the center of your lift, well, come up and change it. Your instincts are probably correct. And then when you've been there for a little while, then take the arms, but extend the arms over. Reach back as far as you can so that you use the arms to create length before you fold the elbows. And if that creates tension in your throat or your chest, then don't bother. Keep the arms by your sides and relax them. Shoulders soft. Fully relax the abdomen, the throat. Lower jaw away from the upper jaw. And then change the cross of the elbows. And then you can release the arms, bring the hands back onto the belly and then down to the floor by the hips. Press your elbows into the floor and come up. Release the feet and release the legs. Okay, now the second supine one is Supta Virasana. So again, if you have problems with Virasana, you could just sit in Virasana with your eyes closed. But if you can maintain a Virasana pose, I'm showing the blocks because some of you I know don't have bolsters. But if you've got bolsters, just use your bolster. And I'm staggering these blocks so that I've got 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, staggered backwards like that. And I think by the way my knee was just now, I might need a bit more height today. For me, Virasana is never the same day in, day out. And sometimes you do it once and then you come back to it later on in the practice and suddenly you're lying on the floor. But other days it's just not happening. So I'm taking a bit of extra support there just in case. And then I'm going to sit. And when you take your calf flesh back, by the way, don't twist your knees. So many people twist their knees. You just draw a line back. It just softens the muscle. That's all you're doing. You're not trying to turn the calf out. You're just drawing a line down the center of the calf to spread it so that those of us with the tougher calf muscles, which I've got very tough calf muscles, they spread out the way and it allows for the thighs to go down. It's just a little warning to some of you because that is a mistake that people make. They turn, and it twists the knee. Okay, so then I'm going back onto my elbows. I'm just waiting a little while here for my thighs to release down. And then when you come down, try and aim the back towards the lift. Don't throw your head back. Keep the head up and try and get the back of the waist down first. And then the head into position. That feels quite nice, actually. because I give myself a little bit extra height than I normally have. And then move the buttock flesh towards the backs of the knees. This is key. Front hip bones have to go down and towards the chest. Abdomen, well, it's a little hard at the moment, but I'm endeavouring to try and get the abdomen to soften towards the back of the body. And again here, you just give yourself a minute and then extend the arms. Reach back. Now, if you're on the blocks, you don't keep the arms straight, you fold the elbows. If you're on the floor, flat, you can extend the arms over and then close your eyes. And of course the knees, shin bones should be down. If the knees come up, then you can put a rolled mat underneath the knees. But if they come up too much, you need more height under your back. And then change the cross of the elbows. And then bring the arms back, hands on your feet, press into your elbows and come up. And then you can come forwards and bring the big toes together and just go into a soft child's pose or Adamokasvanasana pose. Bring your elbows down towards the floor and just let your back recover. You might not want to go all the way to the floor straight away. So just wait there for the lower back to just release. And then come up and sit up. Okay. So, Matsyasana. Well, Matsyasana comes from Padmasana that we did earlier. So again, if you're doing Swastikasana, cross legs, instead of the lotus, you can do that now instead. I'm going to keep the same height. And you can also do your half Padmasana again, which is definitely what I'm going to do. So I'm going to keep my left leg on the floor and I'm going to bring my right leg into Padmasana. And if you're doing Swastikasana, you do exactly the same, except you cross the shins rather than bringing the foot on top. And then go back onto your lift. As you come back, the groin tends to shorten, so just think of lengthening from the groin to the inner knee, trying to get the side of the thigh down, and then you can relax the arms. Oops, relax the arms again. Or you can bring the arms over and fold the elbows. So what we'll do, instead of changing the cross of the elbows, we'll come up and change the cross of the legs. And of course, if you're doing Swastikasana, you can probably do that from where you are. But I'm going to come up and change my Padmasana. And on this side, I can attempt to do the pose in full. It's only when I have to bring the leg over that the knee complains, and it's something I'm working on because it's actually the hip that's the issue, not the knee. So it's an interesting one because you have to take a bit more time to get that hip joint firm so the knee releases and doesn't over-rotate, because obviously the knee can't really rotate. But often when you have this problem with Padmasana, it's because we're trying to rotate the knee and not the hip, because the knee is not supposed to rotate. It's supposed to just be a hinge joint. Okay, so now you can change the cross of the elbows if you can remember which one you had. And I think it's wonderful when you've had pain in a pose and you've been trying and practicing. When you do it and there's no pain, it just feels so heavenly, which this one does now, because there's absolutely no pain in that knee now because I've got it in the right position. Okay, and then bring the arms back and come up and carefully release. I think my feet are already releasing by themselves. Okay, so we'll extend the legs out and just briefly sit in Dandasana, and that will get rid of any tension that might have crept in behind the knee. But don't slam your knees down, just press the heel bones down and then extend the heels, and those ligaments will open more naturally. So let me have a look at my list. So now we're going to take Adamokasvanasana. So although I'm saying this is a recuperative practice, we're not doing it strictly in the sense where we're supporting everything, but we are doing a lot of supine, and then we're going to do some supported back arch. So you can do your dog pose in the normal way. If you are suffering though from a headache, from any tension, if you've got your period, if you're pregnant, you should put your head on a support, head on a lift. Okay, but I'm going to do mine quite normally. So come up into Adamokasvanasana. And then take Uttanasana. And then we'll come up from there. Now you can prepare for Shavasana, or you can do the standing pose, Viprita Dandasana. That's the one with the head on the floor or the head on a lift. Okay, so I'm not going to show that because I show it every week, and hopefully you should know what that pose is now. It's the standing pose with the 2 feet parallel, head goes down on the floor or on blocks, and it's the equivalent to head balance, but I'm going to do head balance. And of course, if you're doing it in the ropes, you could go up on the ropes. So you would have a set of ropes or a sling like this and hang upside down. And if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll send you some information, or just Google rope Shirshasana and you'll see it there. Now, I'm going to have to use my timer, I'm afraid, so that I can follow that. Okay, so we're going to just do a 3 to 4 minutes head balance. So there won't be much speaking now. And of course, those of you doing the standing pose, you might need to come up and do another dog pose instead, rather than holding it for 3 to 4 minutes. So that's 2 minutes. And that's 3 minutes. So if you can stay for another minute, stay. If you need to come down, then come down and rest. And then slowly come down, either bent legs or straight legs. And then once you've recovered, you can come up. And we're going to take Viprita Dandasana, which is a really good pose to do after Shavasana. And if you don't have a chair that's suitable, you can just do a simple back arch over a bolster. Okay, so put the bolster horizontally across your mat and curve over the bolster. Otherwise, you're going to take your chair, a chair back arch. And of course, if you need support for the head, just take support for the head. And so with the feet, you can also have the feet on something. You should have the feet up if you have, if you've got your period, you should have your feet level. So I start off with my legs bent and wait for the body to curve. The shoulder blades are just tucked onto the edge of the chair so that I'm not, just in front of the edge of the chair so that I'm not too far over the chair. Elbows are dangling down because I'm holding near my hips, so I'm not holding here. Okay, you can hold there, that's okay, but I like this way because I can grip the elbows in and curve a bit more. And then I'm going to extend my heels. Got those blocks in the way, but I can push my feet into them or lift the legs up onto them. And then you've got to think of pressing the thighs down. And then you can take the arms this way, inside, and pull. Feeling that front body lengthening from pubis to the collarbones. Back body broad, not hard. Checking that my thighs are still pressing down. The right one tends to pop up, so you have to be aware of those tendencies. And then the second hand position, you can take the arms over, but if that causes aggravation or makes the breath tight, then please don't do that way. Just keep the arms back. And then the final one is with the hands around the elbows. And then bring the hands to the chair. Bend your knees, put your feet flat, press the elbows down. Lift the chest up and sit up. And then step out of the chair. So then we're going to take Supta Badakanasana pose, and we'll take the bolster method for this as well. So I would keep the chair, because we're going to use the chair for chair shoulder stand in a minute, but we'll take the bolster for Supta Badakanasana. And if you've got two bolsters, you can do the two bolster method, which is quite nice. And if you don't have two bolsters, have something for the feet. So you make a big T shape like that. So your heels are going to go on the lift, and then your head and shoulders will be on the floor. All right. So as we come down, spine goes back over the bolster, shoulders slide to the floor, and then legs come up. And I've forgotten my clock, so I'll just have to guess the time, I think. So if it doesn't feel right, then it probably means you're not in the right position on your blocks, or you need something like a belt around the feet or something on the thighs, or perhaps you need more height if you've got problems with your back in this pose. You might need your pelvis slightly higher, actually, because some people think, oh, I'll take the blocks out, and it never gets any better, because actually what you need is you need to open that whole area. So sometimes experiment by going the other way, going up a bit higher. And also check the shoulders are tucking under as well. Now, once you've stayed there for a while, let the legs relax. Even if the feet go out a little bit, as long as it doesn't hurt the back, just let the legs relax. Now we're going to bring the hands across the belly before we come out. And bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor. Just lift your hips up and carefully push the bolster away. Buttocks down to the floor, and then you can cross your shins over the bolster just for a moment or two there. And then we'll roll to the right, and we'll take Shavasana, but with the chair. And if you don't have a suitable chair, then you can just do normal Shavasana, normal shoulder balance. If you're not inverting, I should have told you that before, but if you're not inverting, you can do a forward bend like Padmasana. You can't really do even Viprita Dandasana if you're not inverting because of the period. So I'm going to put that bolster there. Take my mat. And then put a couple of blankets on top, making sure that I don't have an overhang there, because otherwise it makes a nice little slide. So I want a neat edge so I can feel the edge of the blanket, sorry. And then take the legs over the top and down you go. And then you can bring your arms inside. Get that really good extension of the arms to tuck the shoulders under. Extension of the legs. Making sure the sacrum is hooked on the chair. And you can bring the legs up into a sort of Viprita Karani, or you can keep the legs back. You can also do this one if you get tired, do Badakanasana. But once you get into the pose, try not to look around, try not to turn your head, because actually it's not really good to do that when you're upside down.
Now when you're ready to come out, you're going to bring your feet onto the top of the chair, bring your hands out and just slide down. So of course you can stay there longer. And then your legs can rest. On top of the chair, buttocks on the lift. And just let that settle for a moment. And then to come out, roll off to one side. And take Shavasana. So take it either with a bolster under the backs of the knees or on top of the thighs, and make sure you've got room to take your arms outwards. I'm just going to get myself a jumper because you need to stay warm for your Shavasana. Very small support for the head, nothing too high. It's not a Jalahandra Bandha. And see that you've got nothing in your way. So the feet don't touch the wall and the hands don't touch any props. And then when you've got the peripherals, the extremities, I should say, the extremities, when they're in their own space, the mind is able to penetrate inwards more. It doesn't distract the mind from that sense of touch. Shoulder blades under, buttock flesh moving away, thighs, legs revolving out. Give yourself some space between the side of the chest and the upper arm as well. And then feel as if once you're adjusted, everything kind of just goes into the ground. So it's quite common when you say to people, relax your hands, they start moving their fingers around. Your fingers are not meant to move in order to relax, they have to surrender. So think of the description of the word Shavasana, which is a literal translation, corpse pose. But what does a corpse do? Nothing. It merges into the earth. It dissolves into the earth. It's still. And that is the nature of this pose, is to completely surrender the physical body. And once the body is completely at rest, the mind can tune towards the breath. And the mind also then rests. The nerves rest. Your body is at peace. Your body, mind, and breath are at peace.
So only when you feel ready, come out of Shavasana. When you do come out, roll to your side, of course, to come up. As this is recorded, you can watch this anytime between now and Sunday or now and Monday. Enjoy your time, enjoy your day, enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.